they're driving, so you might consider letting them drive. But I would ask that you would look beyond our kids going to Linfield or Reading for an AP class, but rather going to one of the community colleges where they get a jump start on some of those college classes, and an AP class could be considered a community college level.
Right.
And then that translates into savings to parents when they're not taking that class. And so I would even, because that does tie in with the intent of the Readiness Project, to get kids that are ready before their senior year, and having them take some college classes. And then, and out of that comes that choice in high school, but not for all your typical learners.
Right. Any further comments on the budget? Thanks, Carl. You know, we have many months ahead of us till we get to the finish line, which will probably be sometime late in April, depending on what they do with town meeting in terms of moving it around for the money.
But just for context sake, this was 1.7 million.
Right.
What was the number, the dollar value that the selectmen told us we could spend?
No, we basically, they said we could spend the same amount, at best, same amount as last year.
So zero.
Zero.
Right.
Zero increase.
Zero.
Yes.
Right.
So we would have to cut 1.7 million
Right.
out of this budget to get it in line.
I'll take care of that one.
Yeah. And just use the rate.
1.7 million. That's
Right.
not transportation. It's
No.
not an AP class.
Right.
It's not a teacher. It's
personnel.
significant.
Yeah.
Significant. 30?
Well,
30.
That would get you up around that.
I mean, if you wanted to do it by teachers, about 30 teachers.
but I think there's other things you can,
Right, but that puts it into a context that some people, you know, 1.7 million means one thing, but 30 teachers, it's an elementary school. That's about 30 staff members.
Yeah. That's why we're getting
I mean,
creative.
you could start with instructional materials, which is probably
Right.
100,000, you know, and then go up to 1.6 million, but it's still, it's a huge number.
Right,
Right.
which is why I said we have to be extremely creative moving forward.
Yes, because we won't be reinstituting any of those reductions the following year,
Right.
like we did with the Wednesday
Right, I
half
don't think
days.
so, right.
This would be a whole
And
new way.
that was 14.
14
That
teachers.
14 staff.
Right.
14 staff members.
So, 2 teachers.
So, yeah, 2 half days a week.
All right, let's move on. Next, we have approval of a couple of administrative contracts. The first is for the business manager. I believe we simply need a motion to approve this contract, the same as with the other administrative positions for the business manager. These, I want to explain, these are for this fiscal year. So the current year we're in. The main increase is a 2% cost of living increase, and then that is an additional 0.5% added on January 1st, 2009.
Make a motion to approve the business manager's contract for 2009.
Motion by Mrs. Vaca, second by Mr. Bowers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That's a 4-1 vote. Next, we have the superintendent contract. Again, that is for salary. That is for this year. I believe both the superintendent and business manager their contracts, they were already under contract, but we did not get to the salary, and I will be discussing that in a second. We did not get to the salaries which should have been settled prior to this fiscal year starting on July 1st. So for the superintendent, we have a 2.5% increase, cost of living increase as of July 1st, and we have a longevity payment of $5,000 for the superintendent's contract.
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's contract.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That's 4-1 vote. Before we move on, I knew we were going to approve this tonight as we discussed the contract in the superintendent's contract in executive session at our last meeting. So I just wanted to address my feelings on this. And I have a written statement that I'll just read quickly. While I struggled with my vote due to the current economic conditions, I want to make it clear that I believe Dr. Troughton is well deserving of the package we just approved. For 15 years, he has successfully managed a district that has performed far above and beyond the level of funding that has been allocated to our schools. I also want to point out that for many years in this district, he has been paid below the level of superintendents in surrounding towns and other peer communities. Second, I'm aware of some 30 open superintendent positions in Massachusetts, and there may be more, many paying much more than what we approved tonight. And I'm sure that many of those districts would love to have someone like Dr. Troughton with his 15 years of experience and track record of success. While Dr. Troughton never said that he planned to pursue any of those positions, I, for one, school committee member, wasn't willing to take that risk. In addition, if we had to begin a search right now or the next few months for a new superintendent, the cost would be significant. And this was some information I pulled from an article that I read in the Globe. As according to Mike Gilbert, who's the field director of the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, the average search takes months and can cost up to $25,000 to find a new superintendent. The range they usually give you is somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000. In addition, a new superintendent would likely command the same, if not higher, salary than we approved tonight for Dr. Troughton. For example, the current open position in North Andover is being advertised at $160,000 to $180,000. That's for the base salary, and on top of that is a performance-based bonus package. Just to mention, many superintendents have performance-based bonus packages. Dr. Troughton does not have that. A lot of perks, etc. That's not part of his package. I'm confident that this decision tonight will save us money in the long run, and my hope and belief is that it will lead to an orderly transition over the next few years. While the timing may be bad, it would be a much worse situation if we had to search for a superintendent during what might be the most difficult times ever faced by this school district. This is a time we need consistency and strong leadership, two qualities David has brought to this town. In business, the old saying goes, you have to spend money to make money. In this case, we have to spend money to save money. Two more important points. First of all, Dr. Troughton has committed to not seek a salary increase next year. And finally, Dr. Troughton's salary for this fiscal year and those of all the other administrators should have been settled before July 1st. It was my responsibility to make sure this got done, but due to several other issues occupying the committee, it did not. I want to make it clear that in my opinion, we would have approved the same packages for the administrators in May or June of this year. The only difference being the economic environment they were announced in would have been a lot different. Dr. Troughton has done a tremendous job in his 15-year tenure, and North Reading has benefited greatly from his stewardship. So I don't know if anybody else wants to make any comments.
I just want to comment briefly. I voted against both pay increases. I think the performance of Cal Nelson and Dr. Troughton are exemplary. I think they have been. For the 9 years I've been on the committee, I think the timing right now is bad to give no pay increase.
And you've been consistent right along. I think you voted against all the administrators.
I voted against all the administrators for that same reason. It had nothing to do with performance.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you. David, you had to say anything? Or?
No, I'm just very delighted to be continuing on here. And, thank you.
Good, we need you here.
Yes. Okay, next, we have bills and payrolls done, minutes, excuse me. I went over the minutes, and I do not see any issues on both the, first we have the open session from November 10th, 2008, which I believe was the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. And then we also have an executive session from that same night. Does anybody have any corrections for the November 10th open session minutes?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mrs. Vaca to approve. Second by Mr. Bowers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Same on the executive session. I didn't see any issues with the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Vaca, second by Mr. Bowers for the November 10th executive session minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Budget update, Carl?
Yes, thank you. This is the December budget report. No major changes to report to you from previous months. The budget freeze is still in place. I suspect it will be for the foreseeable future. It is assisting us in getting us back into the black because of the salary deficits that we had talked about earlier pertaining to new teacher hires. It also assists us should there be a mid-year budget reversion. We do not know at this stage, but I think many people in the know expect our governor possibly announce a budget reversion after the holiday period.
I'm sorry, Carl, can you explain what budget reversion is?
Yes, thank you. I should. That's edu-speak, I think.
Yeah.
No money.
The budget reversion is a simple way of describing taking money back that had been promised, if you will. About a third of the school budget comes from state sources, and you build the budget based on certain assumptions. And we're concerned that midway through the year, some of those state sources will not be ultimately available to us. So mid-year, they say instead of giving you $6 million, we're going to give you $5.8 million. So we have to find that $200,000 in our budget. So budget reversion is a take back.
I think the good news is though, and not that Republicans have much sway in this state, but our Republican delegation, Brad Jones and Bruce Tarr, I know the Republicans are strongly urging that state aid not be cut. Now that may not be possible, but especially Chapter 70.
Well, they have to offer up another place to find the money.
Exactly.
And that's not
Right.
coming through. That's
Thank you.
not.
But there are plenty of places in that budget.
I have a couple of ideas.
Yeah, I do too.
But they didn't read my letter either, Cliff, so there you go.
Okay.
The only other thing I'd mention is we also alluded to this in our discussion of the FY10 budget. On the payroll side, we have some long-term substitutes that are causing us to go over budget in that area. It's probable that those will continue throughout the rest of the year. So those are the problems that we're watching closely, but we suspect that we will have some more to say in January after the budget take-back period takes place. But for now, I think we're in as good a shape as we can be given the circumstances.
Let's just hope for the best with, maybe they get to everything but Chapter 70. Or everything but Chapter 70 and Lottery 8. Although Lottery 8, I think, is in trouble right now.
Yeah, they can't count over there, huh?
David, no staffing, no bids and donations. Subcommittee updates, we had, Jerry and I were at a athletic subcommittee meeting. The main agenda item is, work continues in terms of putting together a plan for a turf field in North Reading with the goal of not using town funds. And I know that's moving along. There's a turf subcommittee, and a number of the youth sports groups are involved, and we were brought up to speed on that. There's nothing to announce specifically at this time on that. I think that was the only thing.
That, and
we
we got into a brief
budgets.
discussion with the athletic
Right.
director about budget and fees for athletics. And of course, Mel and I tried to, and Dr. Trout tried to bring him up to date on the critical budget cuts that were coming up.
Right.
And we tossed out the idea of, making it a fully fee-based athletic program, which Mel and I don't
I'm
think
sure
either
that
one of us
went over
support.
extremely
Right,
well.
yeah.
He was despondent over
Yeah,
it.
he was,
really
yes.
was. He was
Yeah.
genuinely despondent over it.
But he also was he fought for his budget, and he had some good points. So.
And Mel and I said that we felt that this should be an equitable thing, and as we saw tonight, the athletic budget's paid 50% by the users.
Right.
And I think, as Cliff pointed out, this is a public education, and I think athletics are part of the public education
Yes.
life, and it's already being paid 50% by the parents. So, I don't know, it's obviously something we have to discuss further during the budget sessions, but, that was the other topic that came up.
Yeah, and there are a few, I went through, it looks like there are a few communities that pay 100% for their athletic programs out of fees. Hamilton Wenham, I know, does. Masco, I thought did, but now I'm not so sure. I know Masco has different fees per sport, but I'm not so sure they cover the entire budget.
I think so.
But Hamilton Wenham does, and that's really one of the few I know of. And the thing that happened the first year is they lost a lot of their freshman programs because they didn't have enough kids who could, who would pay the full freight for certain sports, and so they lost. And once you lose freshman programs, you start
Yeah, there's
losing.
the erosion.
Yeah, the erosion.
And I
starts
think
right
we're at the
there.
breaking point right now, as we've already discussed, and I think we have some of the highest fees around, and, we're raising over $200,000 a year directly from the families to pay for those
Right.
sports. So.
Is there any other? We have no other subcommittee reports.
Youth at Risk did meet in December.
Okay. No updated strategic planning. No administrative reports, David. And we had Cliff already alluded to his letter that he sent to the